Mark took control of the body and transformed into a mighty moon knight, killing the monster from hell soon in front of him. Stephen regained his mind the next day and woke up from his bed. He opened the mirror to call out to Mark, but Mark was not there. Stephen was confused and went to work at the museum. When he arrived at the museum entrance, Stephen saw that his colleagues had set up a security cordon. The security guard told him that the toilet pipe burst last night, but the security guard felt that this was not a simple matter. Stephen followed the guard to the surveillance room, at which point he said to the guard,
"What you're about to see is going to melt your brain, yeah?"
But the strange thing is that when they saw the surveillance, Stephen himself overturned his perception. On the screen, Stephen was like a psychotic crazy and ran around. There is nothing behind him in pursuit of him. Suddenly, Stephen looked at the surveillance. Stephen immediately recognized that it was not himself. The accident quickly spread to the board of directors. Since he was his own employee, the chairman gave him a flyer for the psychiatric hospital. He said he could help Stephen make an appointment to see a doctor. Then he asked Stephen to hand over his employee badge. Stephen was fired from the museum now. After being fired, Stephen came to the square and found the golden statue again. He began to pour out his grievances to him. During the pouring out, Stephen suddenly remembered the key of storage on his body. Intuition told him that he could prove that he was not crazy if he could find that storage. After searching through 4 or 5 storages in New York, he found the depot finally where Mark's stuff was kept. Stephen followed the doorman to the depot that he had been looking for. The storeroom contained only some clothes and shoes. The black backpack on the box caught Stephen's attention. He unzipped the backpack and took out a silver gun from it. A pile of money and a passport in the bag. It is Mark's identity passport. The scarab, which appeared in Stephen's dream, was also in the bag. The scarab opens its wings and slowly levitates in the air. The scarab seems to be a compass, pointing to something. Suddenly Mark on the wall spoke to him. Stephen looked at Mark on the wall and was angry.
Tell me what it is you are. What are you?
I serve Khonshu. I'm his avatar. We protect the vulnerable and deliver Khonshu's justice to those who hurt them.
Khonshu?
Yeah.
The Egyptian god of the moon.
Speaking of which, Stephen completely understood the origin of Mark. The monster is the Egyptian god of the moon, Khonshu. Mark and Khonshu have a contract. But for the timid Stephen was very afraid. He did not want his body occupied by Mark again. He was ready to tell the police all this and let the police deal with these things. He panicked and ran out of the depot immediately. Stephen had just run out when the lights in the corridor kept flashing. Khonshu flashed to his front. Stephen was scared and ran. Around the corner, Khonshu blocked him again.
Back, you fool.
Stephen was utterly dumbfounded by the monster in front of him. He panicked and ran out, accidentally falling on the side of the road. Stephen hurried to protect his head.
Mark? Where have you been?
Layla?
He immediately got on Layla's motorcycle to escape. Stephen did not speak on the way, but Layla talked all the way, treating him as Mark. Layla began to complain.
You see the spiral you put me through? It's not okay, yeah? I'm still your wife.
This stunned Stephen. After 38 years of being single, he suddenly had a wife. After Layla rescues Stephen, Stephen takes him to his home. The story is that he confessed to Layla that he wasn't Mark, but Layla didn't believe him and thought it was all an excuse from Stephen, and Layla found the scarab in her bag as proof.
You really don't remember why we've been looking for this. Our adventures, or our life together.
Stephen is just about to explain when there is a knock on the door. It turns out that the FBI sent someone to search Stephen's home. They searched carefully and did not find anyone else in. They didn't realize that Layla was hiding outside the window. The officers in the room found Mark's passport and money. They forced Stephen to take the police car. Strangely that the 2 officers did not take him back to the police station but brought him to the high priest. He never thought that the high priest's men had invaded the police station. The high priest picked him up and comforted Stephen in an apparently peaceful manner as if Stephen was insane. Stephen suddenly saw Khonshu.
Kill him.
What's he saying? Is he telling you to kill me?
Break his windpipe.
The weird thing is that the high priest can't see Khonshu at all, but he knows what he's saying. The high priest took him for a walk while gossiping about the peace and tranquility in the castle. The high priest brought him to the lounge. The peaceful atmosphere in the castle was a bit unbelievable to Stephen. Everyone around him talked and laughed, and everyone got along very well. During the meal, the high priestess told Stephen some secrets. He was once also the incarnation of Khonsu, but now believes in Amit.
Punishes those who have already walked an evil path. His retribution comes too late. Amit knows this too well. She tears evil up from the root, casting her judgment before any evil's done.
In order to find Amit's tomb and resurrect him, the High Priestess wanted Stephen to hand over the scarab and guide them to Amit's grave. At this point, the people around him got up and approached in order to threaten Stephen to agree to hand over the scarab. Stephen rejected the High Priest on the spot. He disagreed with Amit's murder plan and said he did not know where the scarab was. The High Priest, seeing that he had failed to persuade him, planned to force Stephen to hand over.
I have.
Unexpectedly, Layla sneaked into the castle and took out the sacred in public. But he did not hand it over to the High Priest but directly to Stephen's hands. Layla still thought he was Mark. But Stephen is a coward. He followed Layla all the way upstairs. Who says women fight is inferior to men? Layla had a good fighting ability and solved the killer with no difficulty. The High Priest tapped the ground with his scepter. The ground seemed to melt like lava. The High Priest recited the incantation, a strange claw from the ground out. The vicious jackal opened its bloody mouth toward Stephen. They ran into a warehouse in panic and looked around for an exit. If now Stephen does not summon the battle suit, the two men will undoubtedly die today. The sound of crashing kept coming from outside the door. At this time, Layla calmed down.
Hey! You can do this! I promise! Stephen.
The door was suddenly slammed open. Stephen shouted to Jackal. But Layla saw nothing. Stephen was knocked down the stairs by the monster. Khonsu told him to summon the battle suit. After summoning the battle suit, Stephen managed to turn into a moon knight at a critical moment. The suit made Stephen panic a little. Mark also did not forget to taunt him a little.
Yeah, the ceremonial armor from Conchu's temple, not Psycho Colonel Sanders. Well, I don't know how any of this shit works, man. I did it shop.
The monster swooped in from the air and knocked Stephen right out of the way. Layla could not see anything. In her sight, Stephen seemed to be attacked by something. Seeing that Stephen was about to be strangled, Layla picked up a wine bottle and threw it into the air. The monster revealed slowly. Layla is also a ruthless character. If other people saw the monster would run away, but she went up to fight the monster. But the force is still a considerable difference, and the monster was hit her on the ground. Stephen was also beaten to the ground by a monster, making Stephen very angry.
Club ugly coyote, you're in the wrong hands, mate. You're in my yard now.
Stephen punched the monster back. With the addition of the battle suit, Stephen became powerful and will not be injured. The monster kicked him straight out. There were many people on this street, and a slightly ferocious fight would have involved others. The mark on the window reappears.
Someone's gonna get hurt if you don't let me help.
Alright, do it. Take control.
The Moon Knight appeared, and the first order of business was to draw the monster away from the block for a remote place to kill. On the roof of the building, the Moon Knight and the monster launched a chase battle. The moon was shining brightly tonight, and the Moon Knight became particularly dazzling under the moon's illumination. After the Moon Knight finally killed the monster, Mark felt his pocket and found that the scarab was not on him. He wondered where Stephen had left it. A homeless man picked the scarab up, and to his shock, the High Priest appeared, falsely claiming that the scarab was lost by himself. The tramp then died in front of the High Priest. We didn't realize that the High Priest was a murderous demon. Layla saw everything from afar and turned on her motorcycle to take off immediately. On the other hand, after solving the monster, Stephen asked Mark to return his body, but Mark refused his request. The two began to argue incessantly, and the grumpy Mark went up and kicked the glass hard. Khonsu suddenly appeared again. Khonsu thinks Mark did not do the agreement and threatened that the next incarnation would be Layla if he didn't follow the agreement. Mark explained although the High Priest got the scarab, but also just a step ahead, he could find Amit's tomb first. A moment Mark came to this side of the Egyptian pyramids, which will be the beginning of the next chapter.